Whether you like watching TV or not, have you been wondering or do you ever wonder what movies and TV shows are currently trending? If so, well, then let's talk about it. My name is Danya and I am a student at Valencia College and I'm here to present the movie and TV show trends, which is a project that I have come up with using the movie database, which will refer by TMDB. I am currently enrolled at Valencia College and in their computer technology and software development program. So, in this presentation, I would like to do a brief overview of this project, the different steps that I took in order to implement the project, my finding and results using data visualization, and some of the technical challenges that I encountered during the project. And also, I would like to go over the disappointments and successes that I have experienced while implementing the project and maybe some different ways that I would have implemented the project if I knew better. Basically, if I was to do a project do over, what would be the different steps? Again, project overview. Basically, the movie and TV trends project is essentially an API call project which focuses on what movies and TV shows are trending lately. Some of the main data fields that I focused on were the title, obviously, the genre, the language, or popularity score, and country of origin of said TV show or movie. Now let's go over the languages and tool behind this project. So the main language that I used was Python, and then for my data visualization when using Power BI, I used some DAX queries. And then so some of the tools were Visual Studio Code, GitHub, Panda Library, Power BI, and API itself. So what's the main process behind it? So basically my Python script that I wrote on Visual Studio Code is able to make some API calls on TMDB, the movie database, and then the script with after making a successful API call is then able to gather the data from TMDB and output it in a CSV files, which is later used in my Power BI dashboard for visualization. And along the way, I was able to implement some automation process. So from Visual Studio Code, I pushed my code on in GitHub. And then from there, I was able to write a weekly.yml file that is able to run the script weekly every Friday that then refreshes the CSV file, which in turns refreshes the visuals on Power BI, which keep my dashboard updated. So as discussed, the main implementation process from the last slide, again, basically when I first started with the project, it was fundamental for me to test the API first. Then when I was able to test it, I then wrote my Python script that ended up pushing to GitHub for version control purposes. So let's talk about the API test with Postman. So basically, what I did at first was going into the movie database. I created an account and I was able to obtain a read access token that I would use in my Python script to make the API calls. But first, I needed to see if the TMDB was enough for me. So then I ended up going on Postman and I was able to call, using this right here, doing the call to get information, and it then output a JSON file for me. And then I was able to see that, okay, for a movie, for example, or a TV show, uh, I can get a name, I can get an ID, or I can get their original name, I can get their genre and popularity and the first date that it was aired, their average and all of that. So this was made possible by using um, Postman. So then after seeing that it didn't return relevant data for me, I proceeded to continue with the movie database as my main endpoint for my API calls. So once this was done, I wrote my Python script, um, which is called the TMDB historical.py that I then pushed on GitHub for version control purposes. And then on GitHub, I was able to set the TMDB access token from the movie database as a secret environment that I could use in my weekly.yml file to make automated runs and refreshes. So let's take a look at that real quick. All right, so this is my GitHub, and this is the repository on GitHub. I have a brief introduction of what the project is right here in some of the main the goals. So, again, when I push it from Visual Studio Code, this is where I have my Python file, and then I push it on Visual Studio. It put the output for me into the data folder. So I have different CSV files, but the main one that is used the main ones used in my Power BI dashboard are all by general latest and then all clean latest. So this is the data folder where I'm putting all the different um, data that I'm getting from TMDB. And then in my GitHub workflow folder, this is where I have my weekly.yml, which is basically doing a weekly snapshot that runs every Friday at 11:45. So basically, it just, again, the path is to run the TMDB historical, the Python file, and then um, again, like I said, I put my TMDB access token as a secret environment. So then this file has everything it needs to run the Python file by itself and refreshes the CSV files. So then let's take a look at, once I was able to gather the information that I needed, how was I able to visualize it and basically make it easier for end users to interpret findings and results. So let's take a look at my Power BI dashboard. So this is my Power BI dashboard. It's loading and will come up in a few seconds. There you go. Okay, so right here, as you can see, I have a slicer basically that I can filter the dashboard by date. So if I wanted to go all the way up to the past few months, I could and see what movies were trending. I can filter it from maybe 6 months from now, or just maybe something closer, maybe a month from now. And then in this first visual, we also have the country of origin. So basically, if I wanted to filter and see what movies only originated from the US that are currently trending, I could just click on that and then it would filter it for me as well. So as you can see, from last month and now, it seems, some of the TV shows that are currently trending are IT and Welcome to Derry. Now, if I also wanted to filter by language, I can. If I wanted to filter languages, maybe Japanese, I could do that as well and see that Jujutsu Kaisen has been currently trending lately. If I also wanted to filter by genre, I could. The only issue with this is that one movie can fall into different genre, so sometimes it's hard to really filter by genre. But let's say I click on one movie, then it tells me what genre it falls into. So, for example, I click on the family plan, and it tells me it's a comedy movie. I have also another chart that is basically looking at the popularity and the average. So it looks like the family plan so far is higher in popularity, but the vote, I guess when people are voting on the movie, it's not as uh, voted well as In Your Dreams, but In Your Dreams is not as popular as The Family Plan. So sometimes it's hard to really understand, okay, so how do you determine what is actually trending if you take a look at popularity versus rating? Some movies may not be watched a lot, but they rated a lot more. But another movie could be watched. It's very popular right now, but a lot of people don't actually like it. So again, with this dashboard, this is how I'm able to get all the different information. Now, for just information purposes, this is just the Power BI service. Um, I was able to do all of that using Power BI desktop right here, where I set up um, my tables. Um, Again, I remember I mentioned using some DAX queries, so I was able to set up some measures to get all the different information that I needed. For instance, if I wanted to uh, get all the different total movies in that table, so then I put this measure to calculate all the rows in this table to get the total movie number that I then use in my card right here up there that says 21. So if I wanted to see total TV shows, so then I calculated, go ahead and see in this table all the different media, all the different row that were the media type is returning TV show. So again, these are different ways you can use Power BI for to use measures in order to visualize your data better. Now, what are some of the technical challenges that I encountered during this project? So Python was really my first time using Python in this project. Some of the packages were not properly configured. I did not have the proper libraries, so it was hard for me in the first 2 weeks. Then once I mastered Python, then I had some issues using Visual Studio Code and committing or pushing my code. For some reason, it would literally take a whole day, and it's the commit and push would still not happen. So then I had to use PowerShell. And then when I first was writing the weekly.yml file, I had a lot of difficulties figuring out, okay, how am I supposed to make it run? But eventually I was able to master all of these and implemented the weekly.yml successfully. And then some of the disappointments and successes. Um, well, I then realized that TMDB may not be the best resource for what I wanted to do once I started building my dashboard. Uh, it felt like it was more a discover endpoint to measure popularity within a release window, but not really trending. What I mean by that, if the movie database was really for training purposes, it would have returned, you know, when that movie is currently trending. If you notice in the past slides, I showed you that their data are the release date, but not like a trending date, because maybe something was released 10 years ago, but it's trending right now. Or let's say um, it's not telling me where the movie is actually trending right now. So Jujutsu Kaisen, for example, yes, it originated from Japan, but it could be trending in the US. The TMDB does not have information about that, which I feel like it's for what I wanted to do to use it for. It didn't fit. But going over my successes, again, this is a project that requires successful API call. So I guess we can say at the end of the day, I am able to make the API call with my Python script, which is a success. And I'm able to still gather relevant data using the API in my Python script, such as, the genre, the language, and the country of origin. These are important. Um, and again, like I showed you, my Power BI queries and measures enable me to customize the data. Now, project do over. Um, Originally, my project was supposed to track weekly trending movies. But then I figured, why not allow the user to filter it by date and go well over a week, So, which is why, as you can see in my date, I can go all the way up to 6 months from now. Well, 6 months before now. And but some of the things that I would do better or a project do over would be using a better user interface. So maybe embed my Power BI dashboard into a website or an app. And then I would have researched another API that had better trending information, such as the where the movie is currently trending right now and a date range of when that movie is trending. So thank you again for listening. This was my TV and movie show trends using API call, and thank you for listening.